Hello, hello! It is time for day 48 of the 100 Days of Narration Challenge. Day 48. Wow, I am almost halfway through this whole damn thing. That's madness, mad craziness. And today, being the last day of the games reviews week, mostly game stuff, but not really reviews. There were some reviews in there, but mostly just features or previews and what have you. But yeah, for the last one, I thought I'd read a review for one of my favorite games of all time, Star Control 2. A review for Star Control 2 from a really old PC magazine, Computer Gaming World, which I've read from before, but this is an even older issue. It's for issue number 1993, wow. Issue 104. And I'm just going to read the review for Star Control 2 from here. And now, yeah, it's one of those really old adventure space sim kind of games, which mixed in a whole lot of different things. I mean, there was the action, like a top-down asteroids-like shooter part, and then there was gathering resources and minerals from planets, and then there was the whole adventure game, like the story side of things, and then finding items on distant planets and bringing them back to their home planets and whatnot, and brokering peace between different races. If all this sounds vaguely familiar, it should. It's basically what Mass Effect was back in the day. Mass Effect drew a lot of inspiration from Star Control 2. I didn't realize that at the time while playing Mass Effect, but afterwards it was like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are... Yeah, lots of things from Star Control 2. Although Star Control 2 had more humor. Less humor? More. It was a funnier game. Even though Mass Effect did have funny moments, but Star Control 2 was a pretty funny game. Anyway, let's read this review, which was titled Starry Fight. Haha, I see what you did there. Accolade Star Control 2. Oh my god, does Accolade still even exist? I don't think that game company still exists anymore. I think it's been bought up by Atari or something like that. Yeah, Atari owns the rights to Accolade's back catalog, I think. Well, anyway, let's have a look at this. The title is Star Control 2, and now it's sidebar of all the system requirements. System, IBM AT, PS-2 and 100% compatibles? I don't know what that means. Whatever. Price is $59.95, which is about typical. That is a pretty typical price, I guess. Protection, star map lookup. There was a whole unfoldable star map of the entire system. Every single star had like a planetary system inside. And there were, pretty sure, like hundreds upon thousands of star systems that you could just explore. And not a lot of them were useful. There was some places where there was just nothing there except for mineral resources to pick up. But even then, it was quite a feat to do all that. Designer Fred Ford and Paul Raish III. I don't think they're in the games business anymore. And publisher Accolade from San Jose, California. Alright, now the review proper. Sequels are rarely as good as originals, and hybrid games are often less than the sum of their parts. Yet Star Control 2 from Accolade not only goes where no sequel has gone before, but proves that with the right synergy and technology, a sequel can be exponentially greater than the sum of its parts. Star Control 2 is as much of a sequel to the Starflight series as it is to the original Star Control. Starflight being, God, I think it was a pure text adventure game, or one of those hybrid text adventure games where you had a picture of what was going on, of what room you were in, and a list of words, but you had to type out commands, and sometimes the graphics did change depending upon what commands you typed in. Yeah, there wasn't much of a GUI interface. You didn't use the mouse to do anything, I believe. It was mostly just the keyboard. But at least there was a visual representation to show, hey, this is what you're looking at. And then, you know, a text description as well to help you with that. But anyway, This should be good news to lovers of the award-winning Starflight series, since there are no announced plans for a third installment to the series, and Star Control 2 is the closest one can get to the rich, whimsical universe inspired by the capricious and irrepressible Greg Johnson. I'm assuming Greg Johnson is the creator of Starflight. Caught, and then now we get to a new heading, Caught in an Quandary. Ho 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 ho! Urquans are the race of evil spider creatures about to take over the universe, and the joke is that because you're caught in a quandary, but you know it's a quandary created by the Urquans, so it's an quandary. That's the that's the joke. Anyway. Although introductory fiction is typically quite mediocre in computer games, usually only read after the game has been played a few hours and background information becomes necessary to understand the story, this is definitely not the case in Star Control 2. Though the plot is a rehash of many Star Saga themes, it is well written and engaging. The story picks up at the end of the war between the Alliance of Free Stars and the Urquan with their hierarchy of battle thralls. In 2134, faced with eventual defeat at the hands of the hierarchy, Captain Burton led a task force of heavy cruisers on a deep recon into previously friendly territory. Unexpectedly, the group was ambushed by an elite force of Androsynth Guardian text skipped around here. Unexpectedly, the group was ambushed by an elite force of Androsynth Guardian combat I hate this whole skipping thing. Trying to find out what an elite force of Androsynth Guardian combat vessels, and a task force was all but destroyed. Captain Burton's ship was badly damaged, but escaped destruction by creating the appearance of burning up in a close flyby of a nearby sun. With the Androsynth off their tail, the Tobermoon? That's the name of a ship? Tobermoon? Whatever. The Tobermoon limped to a nearby system and landed on the planet Vela 2. Here, the small group of humans would spend the next 20 years of their lives, marooned and disconnected from the events unfolding back at home on Earth. The hierarchy won the war and began to systematically destroy or enslave the various worlds throughout the known universe. Conquered races were given the choice of fighting for the Urquan as battle slaves or being quarantined on their homeworlds, encased in an impenetrable planetary shield. As Burton's crew struggled to survive, their homeworld was encased by the Urquan. Little did the survivors know, but the planet they crashed on contained ancient technology of a long-vanished race known as the Precursors. Professor Farnsworth? What? Really? Oh my god! Oh my god! Did Futurama had? I guess Farnsworth is a fairly professorish sounding name, but is that a reference to Star Control 2 now? And that from Futurama? Oh my god! I love that show even more now. That's awesome. That is really, really cool. Okay. Sorry, it's been a long time since I played Star Control 2, so a lot of the names escape me. But yeah, Professor Farnsworth would uncover a robotic precursor starship factory. There were limited resources, and only the skeleton of a great starship was able to be built. With this starship, 20 years later, the player's character carries the only hope of freeing Earth and defeating the Urquan once and for all. Okay, and we come to a new heading as we get to a different part of the review, 500 Points of Light. The known game universe consists of 3,000 planets and 500 star systems. Okay, so it's not hundreds but thousands, but still 500 star systems with 3,000 planets. That's a lot of area you can explore. I mean, it's not, a lot of it isn't necessary. It wasn't necessary, but you could find like hidden stashes of minerals and whatnot, and it was pretty cool back then to be able to explore so much of the universe that way. Sorry, pardon me. Now, where was I? The Yon universe consists of 3,000 planets and 500 star systems, lavishly presented in 256-color VGA graphics. Okay, apparently that's, yeah, that was really impressive at the time. 256 colors. Yeah. Not so great these days. Not only is VGA a requirement, but a 20 MHz 386 is recommended as well. Oh my god. It's silly to think of system requirements back then. Okay, let's keep reading. Gone are the crude patchwork worlds of the Starflight series. Instead, fractal-generated planets are stunningly rendered, and the players whip around, and the player's ship orbits around them as they revolve. Scattered about these planets, the player will discover 20 different alien species. 20 different alien races with which to interact. Speaking of interaction, the interface is elegantly simple, using either a joystick or keyboard. All interaction is done in a point-and-click manner. In fact, when playing from joystick, the only time a player needs to touch the keyboard is when typing a save game name, and it is strongly recommended that the player save his game often. Further, with a Starflight tradition behind the design team. I guess, I wasn't aware. Okay, so Starflight and Star Control 2 were developed by same development team? I didn't know that. Okay. Alright. That was interesting to find out. Further, with the Starflight tradition behind the design team, it should not be surprising that the game requires 9.2 megabytes of disk space to handle more than 100,000 words of dialogue that enrich the character interaction as well as the graphics. That's actually... Yeah, I mean, the 9.2 megabytes is like, that's silly, 9.2 megabytes. And then suddenly it's like 100,000 words of dialogue? I don't think a lot of games these days even have 100,000 words of dialogue. I mean, maybe getting there, but of course most of it wasn't spoken. Because back then speech wasn't a necessary part of gaming, but nowadays it is, so... so that cuts down the number of dialogue. I guess that's the worst thing about voice acting in video games. It just cuts down the amount that writers can write for it, because it's just like, okay, I'm going to write this line, and it has to be locked in, and then the voice actor has to come in and read the lines, and they can't pronounce this word, and then and it's just slows things down, slows the creative process in writing down, which is... too many cooks in the kitchen broth make hands work light. Sorry, where was I? Yes, Barcelona. Anyway, the universe may be vast, but time is of limited quantity. The player starts his or her quest in February of 2155. It is soon discovered that the current timeline will lead to destruction in March of 2159. There is no time for a leisurely tour of the star systems. It is the player's primary goal to systematically explore the surrounding worlds, make alliances with other races, and ultimately stop the aggression of the Urquan. And then we come to another section, Horatio Alger of the 22nd century. The first phase of the game can best be described as dragging oneself out of the... And then I have to flip the page. Can best be described as dragging oneself out of the gutter of interstellar poverty. Equipped with a bare skeleton of a starship and a handful of planetary landers, the player must set out and prospect new worlds for raw materials needed by the starbase to build new components for the starship. The starship can dock up to 12 escort vessels to assist in combat when it becomes necessary. At first, the modules are basic: additional landers, thrusters, attitude adjusters? I think it's meant to be altitude adjusters. Or maybe attitude. Okay, altitude adjusters, etc. But as new alliances are forged, newer ships and modules will be produced. Once the starship is at minimum readiness, the player will want to strike out in search of a friendly. Sorry, let's try it again. Once the starship is at minimum readiness, minimum readiness. Wow, that's that's an interesting sequence of words to say. Once the starship is at a minimum readiness, the player will want to strike out in search of friendly oppressed races, waiting for a leader to free them from their slavery status. This stage of the game is best described as the diplomacy phase. Being diplomatic not only means knowing what words to use, it is also knowing when not to mince words and rather draw one's sword. The combat system for Star Control 2 is taken directly from Star Control 1. Gravity and inertia are major physical influences placed on your ship in battle. Planets and asteroids litter the combat area, and it is best to steer clear of planets as collision can severely cripple or destroy a ship. Almost all ships have a primary and a secondary weapon. Mastery of these weapons is essential for success. Except I never actually played much of the combat in Star Control 2. I loved watching the combat. It's actually quite exciting, but usually left that up to the AI to do, because the AI was usually a much, much better combatant than I was. At least until the point where I upgrade my main battle cruiser to be able to take out ships in 1 or 2 shots, in which case I just decided to play myself, because you know I was just overbearingly awesome when I did that. Okay, so reading on. A separate program is provided for honing combat skills. This game, Super Melee, is a standalone program that is executed separately from the Star Control 2 program. Not only will Super Melee allow the players to set up different mixes of ships and wage war between them, a modem option is provided so that teams can play head-to-head in cyberspace. Wow, that's a modem option. Modem, really, that's oh, that's so old-fashioned, using a modem. And they talk about cyberspace, like, oh, cyberspace. Nope, nobody calls the internet cyberspace anymore, except in an ironic fashion, or if they decide, running out of words to use for the internet, let's call it, cyberspace, why not? It's a classic word, but not a very common word these days. If all this arcade action scares some readers, they need not worry. There is a cyber setting in the combat menu of Star Control 2 that allows the computer to handle all the battles. Travel between systems is done in hyperspace. Hyperspace is another dimension that transcends normal space. While in hyperspace, the player will not only have to monitor for other systems, they will also have to be on the lookout for other ships. A collision with another hyperspace pocket will result in an encounter. A collision with another hyperspace pocket will result in an encounter, be it friend or foe. Damn it, will result in an encounter. Will result in an encounter. In an encounter. Ugh, that's horrible. Ugh. Let's try that again. Hyperspace encounter, be it friend or foe. A collision with another hyperspace pocket will result in an encounter, be it friend or foe. Hyperspace travel will take the player quite a ways into Star Control 2. A star map is always available to the player. The star map shows an updated display of all systems, spheres of influence of known races, and has an autopilot feature. One only needs to select the target location, press button 1, then button 2, and one's ship will proceed to the selected location unless intercepted by another ship. And we come to another section of this review, Feelin' Quasi. Man, reviews back then were long. I mean, long and quite well written, actually. Feelin' Quasi. In order to complete the game in the allocated time, mastery of another dimension, known as quasi-space, will be necessary. There are only two ways to enter quasi-space. One is a technology that will have to be discovered in the wreckage of an Urquan ship, and the other is a warp nexus to the Arilo homeworld, whose pale E.T. No, let's try it again. And the other is a warp nexus to the Arilulalo. Did I just say the full name of the Arilo series? Arilo race, sorry? Yeah, they have a full name, which is really long and sounding vaguely like something from Metal Gear Solid. Arilo homeworld, those pale ETs with the big black eyes that occasionally make the evening news in current-day Earth. Yes, the present-day ETs are explained in this game. This warp nexus will appear as a star in hyperspace once a month for a period of 3 days only. Discovery of this warp nexus and quasi-space are vital to the game. One of the first alien races to be encountered are the Melnome Traders. This really goes really in-depth into what happens in the game. This race, like the discovery of quasi-space, is vital to the successful completion of the game. The Melnormes do not use the currency of the player's race. Yeah, that's the thing. I never discovered how to pronounce that name. Melnorme or Melnorm? It's spelled Melnorme. Melnorm. I'm going to go Melnorme because that's how I did it back then. Melnormes do not use the currency of the player's race. They pay for information and then sell information back to the providers of this information. The Melnorme are interested in the locations... The Melnorme are interested in the locations of rainbow worlds and data on alien life forms. The player is well advised to collect as much data for the Melnorme as possible. There is no way around trading information with them. They will also sell technology for upgrading both the player's starship and landers. And yeah, it's a really definitely deal with them at some point. And as I recall, finding rainbow planets, yeah, rainbow planets. Basically, how do I explain this? Alright, normal worlds usually have one color only, like purple, red, blue, and, well, some like Earth, you know, it has blues, greens, and stuff like that. But rainbow worlds are, well, rainbow colored, and they're just covered with awesome rare minerals that really help you out. And then you can sell the information of where the rainbow planet is to the Melnorme and get some upgrades for your ship or upgrades for your landers. Make them tougher, make them not blow up when they land on the planet. And so forth. Okay, next part of this. Much like that in the Starflight series, Star Control 2 has some of the best dialogue ever encountered in this genre, and it really is. It really is quite amazing. I should do a Let's Play of Star Control 2 at some point, and oh god, turn off the... There is a speech version for, I think it was made for the Atari... the 3DO? The 3DO, yeah. It's awful. Never play that version, ever. Or if you do play the 3DO version of Star Control 2, turn off the fucking speech because it is fucking horrible. It is really not that great. Anyway, back to this review. The storyline is well developed and occasionally takes... Now let's try that again. The storyline is well developed, and occasionally takes byways through the absurd, always with tongue-in-cheek. This reviewer enjoys a good mix of comedy with his games, but must warn gamers new to this game's universe that the humor is sometimes silly and broadly drawn, sometimes even as sophomoric as the bad puns in CGW's subheads and article titles. A little bit of take that, me, self-deprecating humor. But I didn't read that right. Sometimes even as sophomoric as the bad puns in CGW subheadings and article titles. Star Control 2 has been placed on this reviewer's top 10 list of all time. This has been one of the most enjoyable games to review all year. It is not often that such a perfect balance is struck between role-playing, adventure, and action/arcade. Often with this sort of hybrid, one of these components is lacking and ends up being a distraction, detracting from the overall enjoyment of the game. With a sequel hinted at the end of the game, this reviewer looks forward to more installments with great anticipation. And it doesn't actually give me the name of the person who wrote this review. No, it doesn't say. Okay. But you're cool, whoever you... Oh, wait, no, here it is. It's in very small, hard-to-read text, and it blends into the background. By Stanley Trevina. Yeah. So that was the review for Star Control 2, and if you can get a chance, there's like it's even free these days, so the Precursor Project, or whatever, the Urquan Masters Project, available out there somewhere, and it can run on modern systems, and it's pretty cool, so if you want to try it and see how it compares to Mass Effect, it's completely different, but at the same time, there are a lot of story beats and the whole, lots of alien races against an evil big alien race trying to wipe out the entire universe type thing, and it's just one game, so you can blast through the whole storyline in one game as opposed to 3 games and a very somewhat disappointing ending. Yeah, Mass Effect 3. Why did you do that? Anyway. I hope you enjoy that. That was the end. That was the last of the games review week. If you didn't enjoy this week, then stick around for this coming week. Tomorrow is day 49, and you know what that means, unless you don't, in which case I will tell you. It is another day in the Mystery Book Challenge. That would be Mystery Book Challenge number 7. Number 7. I am good at math. I am math good. Math good. Good math. Good lord. Good math. So come back for that. And yeah, and also going to be hitting 50 with this week. So I thought this coming week, I'd give for another theme, something interesting. Trying to do something I haven't done before, or have done before. You can't do much in 100 Days of Narration Challenge apart from read books, but hopefully this series of books will be interesting. Okay, so join me tomorrow for the Mystery Book Challenge, as well as day 49 of the 100 Days of Narration Challenge. This has been day 48, Star Control 2 review from Computer Gaming World. Thanks for listening.